Welcome back to another episode of the Real Business Women of Charlotte. Dr. Christine Kozachuk and I, LaShanda Millner, are committed twice a month in bringing you guests on our platform that are successful business women, not only in their business or their communities, but they're also innovative in their industries. And what we do, we just have some real unscripted conversation around real life issues, challenges, maybe leave you with some business tips and talk a little bit about balance, if you will, if we can remain that in life, but just real conversation. And we can't do this each month without our committed listeners, our loyal listeners. We also want to thank our new listeners. We ask that you always chime in with us on a bi-weekly basis each month. So again, thank you. But we are so excited today to have another expert on our platform. So let's get started. We have MICHELA Quilici, and she is an international business growth coach and marketing expert from Amsterdam. She's a best-selling author. She's a Forbes Coaches Council member, and we'll talk about that shortly. She's the host of Cue Your Business Success podcast. Her mission and expertise helps business owners get noticed, get profit, get clients. Those are essential things that we need as business owners. And her brand has been featured on USA Weekly, Canadian Living Magazine, and Profit Magazine. So, listeners, as you see, we have another expert on this platform, and we're excited. Good afternoon, MICHELA, because you're in Amsterdam, and good morning, Dr. Kozachuk.
Good morning, LaShanda.
Good morning. Welcome, MICHELA. We're excited about your presence today.
Oh, and I'm so excited to be here. It's so great to be with you both today. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm excited.
Thank you. So we'd like to just start out just a little fun. We want to know the other side of MICHELA. We know that you are that business expert, but I noticed on your Facebook page you had the word foodie on there, and I think all of us have become foodies during COVID. And we see it.
Yes.
So tell us those fun things about you.
Oh my goodness. I'm Italian. So I'm Italian by blood. I was born in Canada, and I'm global by choice. So I am in Amsterdam now. And but I'm Italian by blood, and we Italians love to cook and we love to eat. And so I'm no different. And especially now, I'm so blessed to be able to live in a place where I can find really good organic food that I can buy from a farm. Mm-hmm. And during COVID, because we were in isolation, I had to find sources of food and found nearby these great farms that delivered fresh produce. So it's been a real lifesaver to be able to stay nourished and well-fed during this time. And it's fun. It's fun for me to cook. And to be honest, I find it very meditative. So for me, I just love, and then of course the eating, and then the wine that goes with it and all that stuff.
Yay on that. Yeah. So is it true? Am I hearing that you all Italians like to start with dessert? The sweets, is that a myth, or is that?
Oh my goodness, there are so many great Italian sweets, to be honest. Yeah. But for me, I start off, I love having a really good risotto or a pasta or something. For me, dessert, I love having it on its own. So, separately, like, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or I don't know, 11 o'clock in the morning or something. But with the meal, I like to just have the main meal, and the dessert to me is a special little something that I have at a different time of day. So I don't know. I'm different though.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, talking about food, MICHELA and I, have known each other for quite some time. We was actually managing directors of an international organization together. We went through training together, and that's how I say we became sisters. because neither one of us has sisters, but we were so much alike. It was just craziness. And we
Well,
both,
then you all are my sisters then, because I have no sisters.
but I remember the one restaurant we snuck off and went to that Italian restaurant in Dallas. Was it Dallas or was it Arizona? Which one was that?
I think it was Arizona.
I think it was Arizona. Yes, we took off and went, and it's nothing like you get here. I'm just gonna say.
Good food just makes everything better, don't you think, ladies? Good
Yes.
food and good company. I grew up in a family where our dinners would last 2-3 hours, and they still do with my partner. But because it's this gathering around the table, coming together, connecting,
Yeah.
really talking. We don't have technology on the table. Our phones are nowhere in sight. We're cooking, we're eating, we're talking together, we're being present with one another. I think during this time in particular, true connection is so important because we've been forced to be disconnected and isolated.
Yes.
So the more, and I find the food is the great,
Great way to bring.
Yeah, to bring people together and to rally together. So, yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't allow technology at the table either. I remember it was last year when we were at Thanksgiving, and my granddaughter, she came to the table, and here she is snickering. I was like, you know the rule. You know the rule. No technology at the table when we're having family dinner. None. That's it. She goes, okay, Nana, I'll put it up. But talking about technology, so I'm going to go into some business questions for you. And you are known as the Business Navigator, right? Yeah. So talking about the technology, and when I think about navigating, I think about a compass. So explain to the listeners now, what tools, as like a compass, do you use or should they be using in their business to navigate themselves to success?
Really, really good question. So the three areas that I like to focus on are strategy, systems, and self-leadership. I find we can't separate ourselves from the business as business owners. I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, and we can't separate ourselves from the business entity. So that self-leadership is really, really important. So in terms of different tools, self-leadership obviously is the number one thing. With self-leadership, that involves things like being super clear on what your values are, what's important to you, what matters to yourself, your company, your team. Being really clear on those values, because decision making based on values will keep everything aligned. Knowing your vision, having a super clear vision statement. So my vision statement, as an example, is to support 1 million women to be seen and heard, so that they can spread their message and have influence and impact in their clients, with their communities, and in the world. So that is like that guiding light, if you will, that beacon that keeps us focused on where are we headed with the vision. The values are those guardrails that keep us making those authentic, aligned decisions. Strategic planning is a big tool that I use. So business growth roadmaps, making sure that we have clear priorities, that we have clear business goals, that we have, quarterly activities that are driving those actions, and those never-ending to-do lists are more, strategic, right?
Yes.
Big fan of being more strategic and taking the long view so that we can mitigate short-term thinking. So when we are too focused on short term, we are reactive. We're always putting out fires. We're moving here and there. But if we can take a step back as leaders and really think that longer term, then we are more, we can see the bigger picture. So that, like that compass, right? We're using that compass to get to that destination, and we've got the map, right? That will give us the route, the strategic plan to get there. But then we still have to keep our eyes, forward, so that even though we've got dips and potholes and various things, that we know we're still headed that way. We're not going to veer off into some black hole somewhere.
Yes, and I was just having a conversation. It seems like it's been coming up more and more lately about vision, and others, they'll start something and they see that vision and they see it, straightforward. But all of a sudden, what they see over here, they see this really gold, shiny nugget that they think is going to create them all kinds of money. So they're veering off, and they're veering off to that, and then they find out it's fool's gold. And so here they have to do it. They have to back themselves up and start the vision again, towards their vision, which is lost time for them. And I'm very big on visions. Keep straightforward, don't veer off. And because I've done exactly that, I've done the veering off.
Yeah, and and I think where MICHELA is the expert, and I've had problems with that too, is to create the strategies for that. Even though, like you're saying, we're seeing the golden nugget over here, there are strategies that we need to put in place. It's great to have the vision, right, MICHELA? But there's a process. Those are strategies that we must go through in order to grab the golden nugget, if you will.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, business is a system. Right. So business is a system in and of itself. So I talked about strategy. I've talked about self-leadership. Now the system piece is when I look at the business growth engine, I'm talking about the marketing engine and the sales engine of the organization coming together. And that's called revenue management as a term. That machine, that is the system, right? It involves various tactics that will help make that run, right? Like a car, we need gas, we need the fuel, we need the oil, we need various things to make it go. So with the business, it's the same thing. When we look at the revenue management engine, what are the attraction strategies? What are you doing for engagement? How are you nurturing those prospects? How are you converting prospects into clients? How are you retaining those clients? How are you then scaling your business so that you can grow beyond yourself? This is a system, and then there's particular strategies that one can employ depending on what their business model is. So, the way that I work with my clients, I'm really good at diagnostics and good at assessing business models, because everything I do is customized. So one person's business model might be very different from another, which means we can't just do what our friend or our neighbor or what the latest thing is, apply it into our business and expect results, because that might not be the right strategy or tactic for our particular situation.
Right.
And I think this is where some business owners, and I've fallen into that trap myself early on, is that we just hit the go pedal and we have our vision and we're like, we're off, not really fully grasping the fact that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are systems and strategies that we can employ, and it is a bit of an art and science. And we can learn from others, and we can have guidance from others. It's really worth its weight in gold, because I've seen businesses come to me 15 years in business, breaking even at 7 figures, breaking even
at 7 figures.
Yeah.
On the edge of shutting their doors. I've seen people 10 years in business on the edge of shutting their doors. It doesn't need to necessarily be like that.
Yeah. So it's no cookie cutter formula for everybody. Everybody is different. The business visions are different. So different strategies and systems need to be different. Thank you. Yeah.
And we are different too, right? So I think this is where that self-leadership, that really understanding ourselves, I feel like what I see time and time again, I've worked with hundreds of business owners. I've gone through all of these things myself as well. So I don't just speak from theories and textbooks, but I do find that we get in our own way. And I find that our business will only grow to the ceiling of our own self-development.
That's good.
Yeah.
So we constantly have to be working on ourselves and constantly taking this is a journey, and this is a learning journey, and we're learning about ourselves and how to step into our own self-leadership here.
Yeah.
And also building a business that is aligned to who we are. So for example, I'm an introvert, right? I'm not an extrovert. So I'm not going to be acting like one and putting myself out there in ways that I see other extroverts putting themselves out there, because I will, and I have done it, burnt out.
Yeah.
Been on in the fetal position on the floor, rocking back and forth. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it's we have to be clear on who we are, and then build a business aligned to that, so that we can have some joy and some, feel good about what we're doing, rather than
lifestyle. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, oh, we're not stacking up, we're failures, we're this, we're that. No, that's not it at all. It's not about the hustle. It's not about doing what everyone else is telling us to do. It's about getting clear about who we are.
Yeah.
And doing it in a way that is aligned to that. It's supportive of that.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that.
So I'm sure you're kind of hearing those stories as a member of. I want to touch a little bit about you being a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a space where successful women provide information and resources more than what they gain. So being involved in that, or that council, what are you hearing as some broken things or things that are working for women in business now? Is that the space where you hear those stories? And if so, share that.
Yeah. So with the Forbes Coaches Council, we are a collective of, Forbes has a number of different councils. And so this particular council is the Coaches Council. So it's a collaborative of coaches who have come together. And so it's really about sharing some thought leadership and expertise around what we are all hearing in each of our individual practices, and bringing that forward and publishing that information on Forbes. And so it's a great way to for us to share that knowledge that we hear literally in our practices on a day-to-day basis, talking to clients, boots on the ground.
So are you hearing maybe some similar things since you're coming together and listening and brainstorming? Are you hearing maybe one thing that's more familiar? People are repeating that, or what's happening in their business, or what's working in their business?
Yeah. So a lot of what's coming up right now is that there's a lot of mental, physical, emotional exhaustion. And of course, over the past, 6 months, this all really takes a toll, right? And just hearing a lot of stories around, how coaches have been helping their clients during a crisis, how businesses can pivot during this economic time, how to continue to move forward in the face of this adversity, in the face of this burnout, in the face of now this new, this reentry. So it is around, I believe what's really important right now with leaders is this staying mentally sound, staying connected to others, to peers, getting support, taking care of self, body, mind, spirit, because it's that mental acuity and agility, resilience is the muscle, right? That needs to be worked out the most right now. And so there's a lot of talk around resilient leadership and how to lead more gracefully, and how to bounce back, and how to take care of self in order to be able to adapt. Because that's the name of the game right now. Adapting the business model, adapting how we show up, adapting who we serve, how we package our services, how we deliver our services, how we market our services. And so resiliency is definitely that hot topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So the last question, Michela, before we go, and I usually talk on balance. And for me, I just don't believe in balance. It's how, it's never going to be a balancing on that. So how is it, that you, especially during this pandemic, how have you been balancing your clients, your self-care, your time with your partner, your family? How have you been balancing all that?
So for me, I take a really hard line when it comes to business health, in addition to physical, emotional health. So I'm dedicated to that. I have made a choice, and I do believe it is a choice to focus on certain areas. So for me, it's dedicated time. For example, quiet time. Like I said, I'm an introvert. So for me, it's how do I fill myself back up? Quiet
Yeah.
time.
I am too.
Yeah.
You and I both are introverts.
Yeah, exactly. So being really fierce, even if it's 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, even if it means locking yourself in the bathroom because you're in a house full of homeschooled children and your husband's at home and everyone is all working from the same living room kind of a thing. You know, where can you steal those moments of quiet time? Where can you make sure you're getting that rest and detaching from the noise?
Yeah.
And whether it's technology, whether it's demands from children, spouses, employees, and also physical movement and making sure that fresh air, even if it's opening a window if you can't get out. Really important. Yeah.
Self-care, just taking that moment for self-care. Yeah.
And for me, it's ritualizing it, because that's the way that I can make it a habit. And then I do it every single day. I do certain things at different times of the day. Morning time is for, goal casting, intention setting. End of day is for reflection and letting go. A lot of journaling to process thoughts, feelings. There's a lot of feelings and emotions, especially for the sensitive types these days. Processing other people's emotions. I'm a sensitive. I know, Christine, you are as well. So just I'm always trying to tease out, is this my feeling or am I picking up on other people's? And just, again, that quiet time to just get clear and get grounded so that we're being purposeful. So it's intentional rather than being dragged around by everyone else's demands. So.
Yes, I totally agree on that. And, me being an introvert, this COVID, I told someone the other day, I would kind of believe that, God done this for the introverts, just to sit still so we don't have to compete with the extroverts. Because, that downtime, that energy time, I have to have that, and I will totally disconnect. I mean, there's sometimes that I will literally go into a hole and you have to drag me out of that, because of that introvert of what's going on around me. I have to take that energy, that time. And luckily for me, I have a husband that's also an introvert. So I've got to be on that part. So being lucky on that. But Michela, we are at the end of our show. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being our guest today. And we have got to catch up. Like I said, it's been a while since we've just sit and, had girl chat time. And we have to have, and let's have some wine time. Wine time. Let's do that.
I miss our wine time. Yeah.
Yes, definitely their wine time. But for our audience that's out there listening today, if you have any questions, put it in the feed. Or if you have any questions, you can also message myself, and I will get them to Michela on her business navigating of how those tools that works for her, and it will work for you. And don't forget to go to our social media and like our social media pages, especially on YouTube. You can find this video on YouTube and also on Instagram TV. Again, thank you, and we will see you in a couple of weeks, and have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.